This is Joe Leigh for SecondsOut with Lawrence Okolie, who's obviously challenging Glowacki for the cruiserweight championship of the world on the 12th of December on the AJ undercard. First of all, are you expecting a crowd? Because obviously we've gone into a second lockdown now. It looks highly unlikely, doesn't it?
Yeah, like I'm not really expecting a crowd. I never really got my hopes up for a crowd. I just kind of just said, you know what, it's gonna be like how it's been this whole year. So I just kind of mentally prepared myself for that and just try to focus on the fundamentals of boxing.
Yeah. And obviously, one question about your opponent I want to ask. Do you think he's going to have a chip on his shoulder because of his last fight against Breedis, being as though it was so controversial?
I think so, but I'll break it off for him if it's necessary.
Mm-hmm. And how long do you think it'll take for you to get yourself stuck into the fight? Do you think you're going to finish it early?
I like to think so. Obviously, when I'm in training camp and daydreaming, I see it getting over early. But in reality, it's going to take a little bit of time to break him down. I know Breidis got it done in 2 rounds, but it was a very controversial one. So I think getting used to his stance and all that, because I've got southpaws in, but it's always different than in the ring. And when you got 10-ounce gloves on, but I believe as soon as I land clean, that's the hard part. The hard part is getting myself in position, so it might take me a few rounds to set it up, but when I land clean, it'll be the beginning of the end.
Do you think he's going to have trouble dealing with your sort of irky-jerky style of boxing?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like he's very experienced, but he's never obviously dealt with a style like mine, and my style is very hard to replicate, even in sparring. And the normal game plans against someone who's tall don't really work against me because I'm so physically strong. So that sort of mauling tactics don't work because I just do the same back, but I'm just better at it. So my main aim is to just be defensively conscious, from middle and short range, and just dominate from long range. So yeah, but yeah, like I said, I do expect to stop him.
Mm-hmm. And obviously his last opponent, Maris Breedis, is also a world title holder. Map out a road, ideally, of how you get to that fight, because that's obviously an even bigger fight than the fight you've got on December the 12th. Is that a fight you're looking to have eventually?
Yeah, so obviously in my ideal world, once again, when I daydream, I think, sort of like a World Boxing Super Series type thing without it being in the tournament. So, okay, I win this fight, and then I go for unification with either the WBA or WBC champion, and maybe Breidis has one with another one, and then there's all 4 belts are, and then I've got 2, he's got 2, we have a unification or whatever. But for me, it's not really like as in Breidis, he's got his own life. I don't know him. I don't know if he wants to move up to heavyweight, if he wants to go into acting. I don't know. So I just don't really focus too much on him. But for me, I want to unify the belts. Undisputed would be nice, but obviously it depends on how my body grows over the next few years.
Mm-hmm. And when you say you daydream about the future, do you daydream about future fights, or are you solely focused on December the 12th?
Yeah, no, definitely solely focusing. So I just visualize different ways of knocking them out. And just being careful of the he shots back. But yeah, I'm really confident, really happy to have this fight.
Mm-hmm. How has it been in training? Obviously, the gyms are only open for professionals now. Is it going to be more difficult to get sparring partners in, or is that all sorted?
It's pretty much all sorted. I've been fortunate enough to already have sparring partners sort of secured and brought over. So I'm just keeping everything in house in a camp and able to get the work in. I already started getting a lot sharper. Sparring just does amazing things for fighters. So I already started getting a lot sharper. My eyes are a lot better. And we're still weeks out. I'm ready doing 10 rounds sparring. So I feel good. Usually it takes me a little bit longer to get to that fitness level, but I'm here already, so I feel good.
And on the night, do you think the pressure is going to be similar to your previous fights? Obviously, it's the biggest fight of your career, but with no crowd, do you feel like the pressure is going to be a bit, you sort of released and off your shoulders a bit more because there's no one right there to see it, happen?
Uh, uh, yes and no. You know,
Mm.
because you still got cameras, and you know that millions of
Yeah.
people are going to be watching it anyway. But then, you know, for me, pressure doesn't really affect me anyway. Like, I'm not really the type of person that, you know, responds to, you know, crowd, like I'm going out looking at the crowd, or are they cheering, or they beat. Like, I'm just very this is the job that needs to be done. Like, I'm here to win a fight. It's dangerous, so I have to focus solely on the guy I'm boxing. So it'll be interesting. I personally think it will actually work in my favor, because I'll be able to take more instructions in the during rounds, because it's not so loud. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to hear what, you know, Shane has to say. You know, so yeah, I look forward to it.
Maybe you can learn a bit of Polish. You can hear what your
Yeah,
opponent's
but I've already started. Jab, okay. I know. Cool.
Nice. Any words of encouragement? Anything AJ said to you that sort of stood out ahead of your first world title fight?
No, I think the main thing is, obviously, he just said, like, it's my time. Like, for me, I'm not the type of person that needs, like, pats on the back, or like, yo, mate, this is your day. Come on, like, or when I'm in training, this is the world title. It's just standard. Like, I'm just gonna go in and do what I do and win. So obviously, having, you know, being on an AJ card is always a blessing. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, not only is he a friend of mine and someone I look up to in management, but he's one of the best sport. Do you know what I mean? So it's always a blessing, and his cards are always really impressive. So yeah, I'm just happy to be a part of it, you know, and like it just feels like poetic justice, you know. You know, I was 8 years ago watching him, you know.
Yeah.
Then 4 years after that, going
It's a
to the
great
Olympics,
story.
like, you know what I mean? And then now to be able to win a world title on, you know, one of his undercards on the same day where he's, you know, defending his belts, it's a blessing. And literally in, you know, it's been like 4 year cycles. So it'll be interesting to top this, you know, year off. It's been a very difficult year for everyone. So it'll be brilliant to get this victory and then see what the next 4 years has in store.
And obviously, a former opponent of yours, Isaac Chamberlain, is on his comeback return. What have you made of his first few fights, and do you think he can get back to the level he was when he fought you?
That really depends on him. Obviously, he's, you know, really dramatically dropped the levels of opponents that he's boxing. So that's good. He's showing power, showing, you know, a lot of stuff that he's been working on. But for him to get to this level, the level that when we boxed, yeah, I mean, I think he's always been there. I think he's a good fighter. So it's just about him just proving it, you know?
Yeah. And obviously going into next year, what are you looking at doing? Are you thinking of taking a break after this, or are you going to try and get in as soon as possible after
Yeah,
this?
I'll be trying to get in as soon as possible, you know, just get the momentum going again, you know. I think, you know, with the possibilities of boxing behind closed doors and that opening back up again, it's like, you know what, we have to work, you know. So I want to get straight out there, defend the world title, or go for a unification match. I just think it's right, you know. I think it needs to be done. Yeah, so I'm gonna try and win this fight, no injuries. You obviously never tell, but then I'd like to be straight out that early part of next year.
Nice. And there's obviously a big domestic scene at cruiserweight at the moment. Who do you think, other than yourself, are the top 3 fighters at cruiserweight in the UK right now?
Chris Billam-Smith, Riakporhe, and then the third spot is sort of up for grabs in my opinion. You know, there's a lot of good level guys who are, you know, floating in around that. You've got Jordan Thomas, you've got Chamberlain. But
did you see Tommy McCarthy's fight on Saturday night?
McCarthy, does he count as British?
Yeah, I guess you could. Yeah, we'll count him for this one, I guess.
Yeah, you could throw him in there. Obviously, he's won the European title. Yeah, I watched, you know, bits and bobs. I didn't watch the whole fight. Do you know what I mean? But you know, I watched him, and you know, I was happy for him to see him. Obviously, me and him are not fighting, so I don't really, you know what I mean, don't really care. But yeah, it was good. It was good to see him, you know, come back from, you know, a big loss, win out in Italy, I think it was, and then come back and, you know, win this battle. It's a shame me and him couldn't fight You know, it would have been good to defend the title, but you know, I had bigger fish to fry.
And what do you make of, lastly, before I let you go, the heavyweight scene at the moment? There's obviously a lot of UK guys, but it's on fire right now. What do you make of it?
Yes, I just feel blessed to be a boxer in this generation. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, just to see all of the great fights being made that are in the pipeline to be made, and the amount of attention that the sport's getting. You know, I could have been boxing for a world title, and you know, no media outlets care. No one does YouTube. No one does, you know, newspapers. But it's happening, and you know, a lot of that is to do with, in England anyway, the heavyweights and how they're spearheading the scene. So, you know, I'm happy.
And actually, bro, one more. I'm sure you've heard Maurizio Sulaiman has discussed the new division in between heavyweight and cruiserweight. Would you ideally go up into that weight class after defending the belt a few times and having a super fight with Maris Briedis?
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be ideal. It would be a good way to break into the heavyweight, and then potentially, you know, a further step up again. Do you know what I mean? But I think it's
Do you think it's ideal for you? Because obviously it's the biggest gap in boxing, cruiserweight to heavyweight. So do you feel like, obviously with Usyk, we've seen he's had to make that jump. Do you think it's ideal for fighters like you where you can actually go in between before you make the step to, I guess you could say, the promised land?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's one thing to spar heavyweights, you know. I've sparred a lot of good heavyweights. Yeah, it's tough, but then obviously, like, you've got, you know, big gloves, head guards, so you know you can take a few more risks, take a shot here and there. But in a professional fight, I know the difference between my sparring and my fights. Like, in sparring, obviously I'm very relaxed and I don't really try to hurt people. But on fight day, you know, I'm hitting people and they're going. So it's very different sparring and fighting. So it'll be a good introduction into, like, let's see what these heavyweights are like with 10 ounces on, and then let's see what the supers are like. So it's good.
Do you find that a lot in the gym, where guys that you spar with and then you might see them on TV, they're completely different fighters?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. It happens all the time. You know, I think that's like, oh my God, I remember sparring him. He wasn't all that. Like, but then all of a sudden on TV, bang! But
do you think that's due to pressure?
What? I think most people are better in fights than sparring that I've sparred anyway. Do you get coming from? Is that due to pressure? No, I think it's also due to the fact that you're high end, you're at your peak. You know, some days when you're sparring, you know, I might train 3 times the day before, or twice, or once earlier that day, and then spar. So you might not get someone at their peak, but on fight days, hey, all the training's done. This is the moment. So yeah, it's what it is.
Nice one, bro. We'll really appreciate your time, and hopefully you can bring the belt back to London, man.
That's it. I'm on it. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.